I am ready, my lady. I was informed by Mr. Sibara that he and another colleague have certain applications this morning, so I'll step down for them to address your ladyship.
Okay. Yes. Ms. Ramaimelo.
Good morning, my lady.
Morning, ma'am. The
My
witness
lady,
can just step aside. Yes, but don't go away, please. Yes, Ms. Ramaimelo.
my lady, this morning I phoned Ms. Govender just to seek their view on whether they would object. You would recall we had, Ms. Mahlape had said we reserve our right.
Yes, correct.
Yes,
Thank you for reminding me.
But the difficulty we had was that there was a document that I was looking for in order to be able to put a question. It's nothing long. It's just a point of clarification. Excuse you, my lady. Excuse me, my lady. I apologize. The point of clarification, the court will recall that when Mr. Mukhari was cross-examining, there was an issue about when was a decision to take the users to NGOs taken.
Correct.
Who took that decision? Ms. Mahlangu said it's the department officials and the HOD. And then when Mr. Mukhari further asked, he said, who communicated the decision? Then Ms. Mahlangu said, she cannot recall, but she thinks it was Mr. Musenohi and Ms. or Dr. Manamel. Now, I wanted to look for the presentation that I think may be speaking to that point. I informed Ms. Govender that that presentation is found at page, I think it's 591 to 609. So I just want to clarify that issue with the witness. That's all I asked.
591 to 60.
To 609, my lady. I've already shared that page with Ms. Govender. I also phoned Mr. Sibara, taking into account that he had requested to cross-examine after everybody, but just before my learned colleague, Mr. Hodes, does his re-examination. I also indicated that's the document that I seek clarity on. Does he have an objection? Mr. Sibara said he has no objection. I have not yet received the response from my learned SC and his colleague. So I'm asking this court and whether that would be permitted.
Mr. Hodes?
My lady, I have no objection. This is a fact-seeking inquiry, and I have no objection to my colleague doing so.
Thank you, my lady.
Mr. Sibara, just to confirm.
I confirm the submissions by my learned colleague.
Okay, thank you.
No objection, my lady.
Thank you.
My lady, just a second. In the event, perhaps maybe my learned colleague touches something we would need to clarify. We'll just ask for that indulgence based only on your questions, my lady.
Okay.
Thank you, my lady.
You can go ahead, Ms. Ramaimelo.
Thank you, my lady. I'll just wait for the witness.
The witness can come back.
Good morning, Ms. Mahlangu. My name is Khaogelo Ramaimela. I appear with Ms. Mahlape. We act on behalf of Mr. Musenohi.
Good morning, Council.
Ms. Mahlangu, I just want to clarify a very small issue, but it requires me to firstly remind you of what you had said when Senior Counsel Mukhari was asking you questions. So if we could just backtrack before I ask that question and refresh your memory about what Mr. Mukhari had said. You recall that you testified that in respect of the presentation that you made at the PBC on the 26th of November, which document dealt with slide 6. You don't need to go to it, but if you prefer, it's at page 1697, where the issue of the termination of life Esidimeni was discussed and the risks that were identified according to that slide. I've made a note here. The The risk identified was that the departmental institutions may not have adequate capacity to absorb patients from live Esidimeni facilities. And Mr. Mukari put to you that you had homework to do to find out whether that capacity exists. Do you recall?
Yes, Councillor, I do recall.
Now, after a few questions, Mr. Mukari told you that when did you become aware of the decision to take users to NGOs? And you said you only became aware later, meaning after the PBC meeting. Do you recall that?
That is correct, Councillor.
Then he also asked you who took the decision, and you said department, you said HOD and the department officials, if my recollection is correct. Is that what you said?
Yes, yes.
And then he asked you to...
That is now just a second, the decision to do the transfer.
To take the users to
correct.
NGOs. Yes, my
Yes.
lady.
Mm-hmm.
And then he asked you to identify the names of the individuals who took the decision. You said HOD and the officials of the department. You recall that?
Yes, Councillor, I do.
And then he asked who communicated the decision to you. You answered along the lines that there was a presentation made at a meeting. Do you recall that?
Yes, yes, Councillor.
And when he probed and asked who made the presentation or the communication, you said it was either Mr. Mosenuchi or Dr. Manamela. Do you recall that?
I recall it, Councillor.
Now, if you could go to case line, Ms. Mahlangu, there's a document that appears at page 591.
591.
Yes, ma'am. It starts at 591. You will tell me when you're there because I have to use my screen so I can't see you, but that's fine. Please indicate when you found it.
Yes, I can see the slide heading Gauteng Department of Health Mental Health Services Life Esidimeni Project, July 15, 2015.
That's correct. Now, if you just quickly scroll to 609, you don't have to. That's the length of the document. It goes all the way to 609. Perhaps we should just go there for, oh snap, I think I've lost. I beg your pardon. 609, you can see there it says, thank you, Dr. Manamela, MJ Manamela. Do you see that?
At which page, Councillor?
It's at page 609.
I'm just
Oh, I beg your pardon, it's 610.
Yes, I'm there, Councillor.
Okay. No, I just wanted you to see that it is a document. At the end, it says who is the presenter of this document. Now, I just want to take you through a few pages in this document before I ask the question. If you can go to page 529 of this document, please, Ms. Mahlangu. Are you there?
Is it, you say page?
592, I beg your pardon,
Yes, it
my
can
lady.
be 529.
Yes,
okay,
it can't indeed.
Okay, I'm there, Councillor.
592.
Are you there, ma'am?
Yes, Councillor, I'm there.
Now, if you look at the first bullet point of that slide, which has introduction, it says the project has 2 phases, but 3 options were identified in facilitating the process of reduction of beds and plans to take for, I beg your pardon, and plans for total takeover of users. Do you see that?
Okay, wait, let me just do this. It's on the same slide under introduction.
Under introduction, the first bullet point, ma'am.
Okay, I can see that, Councillor.
Can you see that? Now, if you go to, let me see, what bullet point is this? I think it's the fourth one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it says, it was also reiterated in meetings that closure of beds in LE is inevitable. Hospitals are advised not to refer users to LE. MHD had commissioned a task team to plan and identify alternative beds that could be utilized to admit those users that were supposed to go to LE. Do you see that?
Yes, Councillor, I see it.
Now, I just want to take you to a few more pages before I ask the question. If you can then go to page 593.
Yes, I'm there, Councillor.
Thank you, ma'am. It says, the first bullet point says, the project takes 2 phases, facilitating the process of reduction of beds and plans for total takeover of users back to our services. Do you see that?
I see that, Councillor.
Then we go to page 594. Page 594. Are you there, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
It says, phase 2 followed a meeting chaired by MEC for Health in February 2015, where the MEC advised Life Esidimeni, in bracket LE, senior management on the decision taken to reduce the beds and discussed the challenge of costs to continue funding LE. LE was given notice that they should further reduce beds by 20% and not to admit a user from hospitals when the number is reached, and to discharge those that can be discharged. However, LE is expected to carry on with the normal discharge as required by the SLE. You see that?
Yes, Councillor, I do.
We are almost done, ma'am. If you could just bear with me at page 595. Then page 595, let me just make sure that I'm there. The first bullet point again reiterates that it was also reiterated in meetings that closure of beds in LE is inevitable and hospitals are not advised to refer users to LE. So it effectively repeats what was stated in one of the previous slides to say that the LE would be closed. Do you see that, ma'am?
Yes, yes, my lady.
Then I'm looking for a page where it identifies the members of the task team. That page is the next slide. If I can just rotate it, my lady. That page is 596. That bullet point speaks of the task team members who are CEOs from Vescopies, Cullinan, Sterkfontein, and Chief Director Infrastructure, staff members, Director, and 5 DDs, I beg your pardon, in mental health services, and also consult include HR and finance. So those are the task team who are tasked to identify the beds that the users could be taken to. Do you see that?
Yes, Councillor.
Then if you go to page 597, I think it's the next slide. Just make sure that's the right page. Are you there, ma'am?
Yes, Councillor, I'm there.
It speaks about the first option, and then it says, beds identified in listed below hospitals and CEOs and infrastructure units submitted the estimates, the requirements for renovations, HR, and budget. So it looks like it's presenting the options of where the users would be taken to. Do you see that?
Yes, Council.
And then if you go to the next page, 598, it's option 2. Are you there, ma'am?
Yes, I'm there, Council.
All right. It says some hospitals like Old Germiston, Mamelodi, and Tshwane hospitals can be used as NGOs for chronic users. Do you see that?
Which slide is that? Is it still 597?
It's 598, ma'am.
Sorry.
Not a problem at all. Are you there?
So this is option 2, right?
It is option 2 indeed.
Yes, I'm there, Council.
Yes, I just read it. Do you confirm that it says that some hospitals can be used as NGOs for chronic users?
Yes, Council.
And then we go to the very last option 3. You would have to scroll down a bit. That I think you find at page 609. Are you there, ma'am?
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay, I'm there, Council.
Thank you. At 609, the last option, which is the third option, says normal discharge to NGO. Oh, no, that's the wrong page. I beg your pardon. Let me just I think I've gone to the wrong page. I'm looking for option 3. Oh, yes, option 3, there we are. It says the
Which
last
page is
option.
that before you.
Oh, I beg your pardon, my lady. Let me just quickly scroll because these things you must. It's 609. I was at the wrong page. Aisha.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Option 3 says the last option is to buy the LE hospitals if possible. This process will include negotiations to absorb their staff and members if they so wish. And then we can go to that page. Next page is conclusion. Are you there, ma'am?
Yes, Council. I'm just trying to reduce the font.
Oh.
But I can see everything. Yeah.
Can you see everything? I'm struggling. Yeah. Okay. So if we could
shift a bit to that, but I'm there, Council.
Are you there? Then in conclusion, the document or the presentation says LE has 5 facilities. Each facility is allocated a staff member, mental health DDs who facilitate the process together with the identified LE manager. Once dispute is resolved or a formal closure note was issued to LE, if renovations are done at the moment, we can accommodate a total of 1,164 currently. We will continue to establish beds, either from NGOs, closed hospital, and also to ensure that the users are rehabilitated and discharged home. And then it concludes again, says, thank you, Dr. MJ Manamela, Director Mental Health Service. You see that, ma'am?
Yes, Council.
Now, my question to you is that based on what you have correctly indicated that this happened over such a long period of time, could you have been mistaken when you answered Mr. Mukari and said that a presentation about the option of NGOs was made by either Mr. Mosenogi or Dr. Manamela?
Can you please repeat your question, Council?
My question is, you will recall that you have correctly said to the court, these things that we speak about before the court today happened over a long period of time. Now, when Mr. Mukari asked you who made or who communicated the decision of NGOs, of placing users as NGOs, you could have been mistaken by including Mr. Mosenogi in your response instead of saying Dr. Manamela, because the slide that we just went through now clearly shows that it is a slide presented by Dr. Manamela.
Thank you, Council. I think, as you correctly stated, that I think it's about 7 years now. I think 2015 will be what, exact 8 years. I would not remember everything, but when I mentioned Dr. Manamela or Mr. Msonogi, it is in the context that he was the project manager and Dr. Manamela was the deputy. So really specific to as the presentation you've taken me through, clearly Dr. Manamela did made that presentation, but I do not remember being part of this meeting when this presentation was made.
Okay, maybe perhaps just to also conclude, the evidence of Mr. Mosenogi was that he only got involved in the project once it had already commenced, and I think he said he was recommended, or you indicated that he become part of the project at a quarterly meeting, which was in October, I think October, November 2015. So his evidence that he got involved late means that when this document was presented, he was not yet part of the team.
It is possible, Council, and if I may clarify, I did speak about the different projects that the department embarked upon after 24 elections and the move of patients from Natal State Hospital to Telemukharane. Mr. Msonogi was involved. The Selby cancellation of the contract, he was involved. Yes, probably he is accurate about that. And Dr. Manamela Wood wasn't leading the team at the time before I asked that Mr. Msonogi be included, by the HOD formally appointed him to the as the head of the project. Dr. Manamela. Yeah.
That is correct. Thank you, my lady. That is the only point I wished to clarify.
Thank you.
As the court pleases.
Yes, Mr. Sibara, do you have a question?
Thank you, my lady. Like I said before, I will ask for indulgence. This one point which I just want to take the witness through, in particular on this slide, I think it's on page 610, this slide, my lady, the last part of which is, thank you.
The concluding part.
Yes. If I may be permitted, my lady, with your blessings.
Yes, I don't think there will be an objection. Is there any objection to that?
No objection, my lady.
Thank you. So
Thank you, my
can
lady.
take
I'm
Yes.
subjected to corrections from my colleagues. With my notes. Ms. Mahlangu, if I remember correctly, in one of your evidence,
I thought you wanted to first look at the document. I don't know. You said you were going
I just want to
thought
build it to the document.
Oh,
Is that
okay.
Thank
All
you,
right.
madam. You
All right.
testified that there was a time when you were responding to questions at the legislature, and you mentioned that the department had 1,164 beds available. I'm subject to corrections, my lady, with colleagues. If I got that information correctly, you'll correct me, Ms. Mahlangu, if I'm wrong.
I responded to the question in the legislature. I don't remember the exact numbers of beds, the exact numbers that I would have indicated to the legislature, but it's all in public information.
Okay. And if you can see, it reads as follows: if renovations are done, so at the moment we can accommodate a total of 1,164 currently. We will continue to establish beds either from NGOs, closed hospitals, and also to ensure that the users are rehabilitated and discharged home. So this slide, it says if the renovations are done, the department will have 1,164 beds. And this slide, it was presented on the 15th of July, 2015, before Life Esidimeni contract was terminated. Is that correct?
Yes, that's how it reads, Council.
Thank you. And you mentioned that you are not sure, you cannot remember, which I accept if you were there during this presentation. I accept it has been long. Dr. Manamela testified before this inquest that this presentation, she made it to the executive who was there. It includes Mr. Silubano and yourself, you were included, and senior managers, you were there when she made this presentation.
No, I do not remember, Councillor.
Thank you, my lady. That is all from our side.
Okay.
Thank you, my lady. May I proceed?
Yes, you can.
Lady, I do not intend to be long. It's just to clarify a few issues, and I still believe will be done timeless. My starting point, Ms. Mahlangu, would be reference was made to page 1715, and we couldn't read the SMS messages between yourself and Professor Makgoba. Can you explain to this inquest whether you have clearer copies of those messages and whether you can tell this court what the SMS by you on page 1715 is? There were two questions there. So, do you have clearer copies of these messages?
Yes, my lady, I do. I took screenshots of my conversation with Prof. Makgoba, and I made them copies, and some of them I saved them on my phone. If the court wishes to get copies of that, I can provide it.
So on page 1715 on 15 September 2016 under the time 3:01 p.m., what is the content of your message, madam?
The content of my message reads thus, Judge.
Slowly, in case people are taking notes. Please read it slowly.
Thanks, Prof. I will. Please note that I will send.
Just go slow, Dr. Manamen.
So it's thanks, Prof.
I will. Full stop. Please note that I will send info.
Please note that I will send
info.
Yes.
We have in the department at the moment.
Wait, her ladyship's still writing. Wait.
No, continue.
What?
It will exclude clinical files.
Come again, it will?
Exclude clinical files.
Continue.
Because we are still waiting for them. Full stop. The next sentence starts by, but I will send what we have done and the history of the deaths from life.
But I will send what we have done.
Yes, and history of deaths. From life, because they reporting the numbers then.
Now, Ms. Mahlangu, if your screenshots of your messages are required, because these messages are very unclear, are you in a position to make them available to this court?
Yes, my lady. Absolutely. Okay.
As appears from that message, there's a distinction to be drawn, as Mr. van Bergen did, between the files of deceased persons and the files of patients. Can you explain the distinction and your involvement to this inquest, please?
My lady, as I indicated before, that the officials said that they were trying, the patients or mental health care users were discharged without files. I then, when Professor Makgoba asked for files, then I approached live through the letter that I wrote, and they gave us the 36 files. But the other files, I was informed that those files, the department continued to look for those files, and up until I left, I never had any contrary feedback to that till my departure.
So as you answered when you were questioned by Mr. van Bergen, your focus was on finding the files for Professor Makgoba so that the Ombudsman could do his report. Is that correct?
That is accurate, my lady.
Now, during your questioning by Mr. Pienaar, occasions he put issues to you and he said to you, do you have any comment? Do you wish to make a comment? And your response was no comment. When you said no comment, were you admitting that you had contravened the provisions of the Constitution? What was your position, and what did you want to convey by your response of no comment?
Firstly, my lady, is that I know that the Constitution is binding on all of us as public officials appointed to serve in government because we take the oath. When I responded to council that no comment, my response was simply not suggesting that I am admitting that I violated the provisions of the Constitution. I was simply saying that based on the organogram which I've taken the court through as to where I sat in terms of my position and where the execution took place, I was very far from that. And by no means was I suggesting that I violated my responsibilities, no, of the Constitution or any other legislation as required as stipulated in those statutory legal regulations.
Okay.
Next, Ms. Mahlangu, there was reference to page 51995. You don't have to go to the page. I just want, there's an acronym there, NHLS. Can you explain to this inquest what NHLS stands for?
My lady, NHLS stands for National Health Laboratory Services. And it was one of the thorny issues that we were dealing with at the time.
That was my question, Ms. Mahlangu. What was the issue relating to NHLS that caused it to be mentioned at that stage?
Oh, my apology, my lady. NHLS, there was an investigation done by Treasury, and that investigation indicated that there were costs attributed to the Department of Health in Gauteng which were not supposed to be. As a result, the Department of Health was owed money by NHLS, and that investigation was done by National Treasury. The court can ask that information. It is available. This is the context. I was mentioning it because of one of the cost drivers and the fact that when I mentioned that the department was in a lot of difficulties financially, this is one of the items that was causing such difficulties.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Mahlangu, I'd like to take you to, this time you do need to turn to the page, please. It's 31333. I repeat for the record, 31333. It's a letter by Ms. Creasy that's addressed to you. And I'd like to focus on the first bullet point there, and it reads as follows. I'm going to start in the introductory thing. She says, let me take this opportunity to thank you and your department for the fruitful discussion during the Premier Budget Committee meeting held on the 11th to 13th November 2014. Subsequent to that meeting, it was decided that your department should come back to PBC with the feedback on the following. And the first bullet point is health and GPT to provide a progress report on the intervention and indicate what is outstanding which still needs to be done. Could you please explain that to this inquest?
My lady, I have indicated that when I was appointed to the Department of Health, the department was already under administration by the Provincial Treasury in terms of the provision of the Public Finance Management Act, which is Section 18(2)G, which provides mechanisms for the Provincial Treasury to intervene in any department where there's financial difficulties. So this bullet was, we were expected to give report in that regard. And there is a presentation which I had scanned through my attorney at the beginning of this that talks about there's first of all the scoping of the work that needs to be done. And in there of importance, there is issues of contract management and SLAs, which were attracting fruitless and wasteful expenditure from the Auditor General. This is contained in this presentation. It's a very extensive presentation. There's a scoping one that was done on the 27th of October 2014. The consultant appointed by Treasury was the PwC, and on the 24th of October 2015, there is a proposed scoping for the remainder of the engagement in that regard. All these documents, I have them, and through my lawyers, they can be shared with the court. That's the context under which I operated, because of the financial difficulties and the issues persistently be raised by the AG, and the fact that the Provincial Executive Council, EXCO, led by Premier David Makura, I think the intervention happened before he came in, under Premier Mokonyane, that the department was put under Section 18(2)G of the Public Finance Management Act.
When you say put under Section 18(2)G of the PFMA, what is that?
If I may, my lady, through you, let me just look for the right. The PFMA. Yes, the relevant section of the PFMA, section, I think it's on page 28 of the PFMA, Section 18, Functions and Powers. That is Section 18(2)G. And it says, I'm reading into record, it says the powers the provincial treasury must, under 1, and then the relevant section I'm reading, 2G, it says Treasury must intervene by taking appropriate steps, which may include the withholding of funds to address a serious or persistent material breach of this Act by a provincial department or provincial public entity. That's what the PFMA indicates, gives powers to the Treasury. Therefore, when the Cabinet or the EXCO in the province took a decision based on the difficulties that the department was having before even I came in, it was enjoined by this section of the Public Finance Management Act.
Just before you proceed, Mr. Wodes, these presentations, are they on case line that he has just referred to?
My lady, I'll have my attorney check, and if they're not, they'll be up.
Yes.
It wasn't
the one of the two of them, the one of the 27th of October 2014. Did you say 2014? Yes. And the other one is of the 24th of October 2014.
Yes,
I thought you said, okay, 2014. They are both for 2014.
Ms. Mahlangu, my next question relates to the SADAG litigation. Did you play any role in this litigation, in that urgent application that was brought?
May I just write down, Council?
Yes.
My lady, through you, I played no role in the litigation process for that December a period of 2015, including for the March 2016.
And when you or your office received correspondence relating to medical or psychiatric issues, were you in a position to respond to that correspondence relating to medical or psychiatric queries?
My lady, as I have said over the past 7 days, my apology for probably it may sound repetitive, that I, at all material times, when I meet a particular, or when a correspondence is written to me about something of one kind or the other, I was always deferring to the HOD for advice and guidance for him to draw the necessary information from the respective units of the departments before they talk to me. So any correspondence that I receive relating particular to this matter, I had asked the HOD to come back to me so that we can be in a position to do that. And my PA will be in communication with his office, and sometimes with...
Just a second, to come back to you to do what? You didn't indicate, I didn't get that.
To come back to me, my lady, with information on how we're going to respond to that issue. Sometimes it will be in-person meeting, or sometimes it will be him directly talking to those people and responding to those people.
Now, we've heard a lot about the SLA from 1979, with Life Esidimeni. What was the, I know you weren't involved in 1979, I don't even know where you were, but what was the purpose or motivation or intention of this contract with the Life Esidimeni from the Department of Health perspective?
My lady, Life Esidimeni in particular was and I think I spoke about this yesterday or day before, that it was a step-down facility. Step-down facility means in this context that the provincial health facilities, whether be it central hospitals, tertiary district, or any level of care, they refer patients that were stabilized but needed to be cared for in a facility which did not need a lot of expertise. They'll be down referred to Life Esidimeni for stabilization, meaning that they must be there for a period of time. Thereafter, they are either discharged back home, or they are discharged to NGOs, or they are, of course, if they were severely could not be taken care of, they'll be discharged to environment where it is kind of like homely. That was the purpose of any step-down facility. In this instance, Life Esidimeni was that kind of a facility. Also, some of the provisions that were required in that, the fact that the mental health care users who would be referred to at Life Esidimeni, because the intention was always they must go back and be integrated in the communities, was that over holidays they must be taken for visit. The families must take them to visit over the birthdays, over special occasions. So that was always the intention, that they must always be back and forth of these mental health care users to be part and parcel of their families on important occasion or on special occasion, and also over the weekend.
Now, I want to move to a different issue. You're a member of the PBC, and we've had numerous referrals to the meeting that took place on 26 November 2014. There's been reference made to the minutes or different versions of the minutes, but my question to you, Ms. Mahlangu, is, were those meetings recorded? And do you, as a member of the PBC, as a fact, know that a recording was made of those meetings?
My lady, I think between the period of 2009 and 2014, the boardroom where EXCO meetings are held were renovated, and there were technical features that were installed in those boardrooms. And all EXCO meetings or subcommittees, in my understanding, were recorded. Not only recorded, but also there was always a secretariat provided by the administration in the Premier's office in this regard related to the budget. It was both the technical staff from the Premier's office as well as from Treasury who will take notes of this. And I think it's important, my lady, that I mention this. In my thinking, trying to understand exactly how can I assist the court to get the right information, I think there is a process that I need to apply for a declassification, because the cabinet documents are classified secret. So I need to apply for the declassification of those minutes for the purposes of assisting this court, because as I said a couple of times in this inquest, that the minutes that were shared with this court are not accurate, and I do not recognize them.
Thank you. Now I'd like to take you, Ms. Mahlangu, to page 30878. I repeat, page 30878. You'll see two tables on that page, and I'd like you to have a look.
Sorry, Council, can you please repeat?
30878. Focus your attention on the second table on that page. It's headed Ali Budget and Expenditure, in brackets it says last 4 years.
Just bear with me.
As your ladyship pleases.
Yes, continue.
In the second table on that page, can you take us through that table and explain what's depicted there, please? In the second table on page 30878.
My lady, if you look at this from the financial year 11-12, meaning start 1st of April every year, ends on the 31st of March the next following year, you will see that the department had budgeted to spend 194 million for this program, and what was actually spent was 209 million. And the following year, which is 2013-2014, the department budgeted for 203 million, and the expenditure was 224 million rands that year. For the financial year 2013-2014, the budget was 212. 929, and the actual expenditure was 234 million. And the following year was 2014-2015. The budget was 251 million, and what was spent was 323 million. And the last year, which was 2015-2016, the budget was 265 million, and the expenditure was 159 million. If I may just explain this last bit. The reason why the expenditure in 2015-2016 was 158 million in the end is because I think when Advocate Ramaila was referring to the presentation, and one of the things that would have been discussed in a couple of meetings was that the referral to hospitals to life, down referral to life, the hospitals must manage those referrals far much more prudent than they've always done, and that is the reason why we ended up with the 158 million expenditure in that financial year. Simply put, my ladies, that there was always over expenditure in this, and if you look at the provincial treasury, the PWSP scoping work that I referred to, when there's continuous over expenditure on an item, the AG will always raise issues, and the Treasury will always be concerned about that. But also the fact that the contract, as it is said, you'll see in the document that one of the things that Treasury had asked the Department of Health to do was to do contract management better, and SLAs to be looked into, and those SLAs that were attracting wasteful and fruitless expenditure were caught the attention of the PwC team and the team that was working and Treasury and both the Department of Health.
Now, I want to ask you, you've referred several times to the PFMA. As an MEC, what were your oversight functions in terms of the PFMA?
My lady, with your permission, may I take the court through the relevant clauses of the PFMA? Just looking for the clause. Yeah, I think it's chapter 7 of the PFMA. Yes, I think it's section 63, 1A and B, and it's very clear about, and also the section 64, and I may just beg the court for indulgence. Section 63, 1A says executive authorities of departments must perform their statutory functions within the limit of the funds authorized for the relevant vote. And then it goes on to talk about other things. I think the other important mechanism I need to mention here, it further says, section 64 of the PFMA says, section 64.1, any directive by the executive authority of a department to the accounting officer of the department having financial implications for that department must be in writing, which means, my lady, that if as a politician, you give instruction to the HOD to do things that may result in over expenditure or in fruitless expenditure, the HOD is required to write a letter to the MEC of Finance and to the Auditor General, informing them that I did not want to do this, but my political head is forcing me to do this. As a result of that, you might expect over expenditure, or if there's irregular expenditure, attributed to the political head concerned. And those provisions are there in black and white, empowering officials from any instruction that may give them lead them into difficulties. In my entire life as an MEC, I did this once, and that was to Dr. Chetty, when we asked her to buy hospital equipment for radiologists and radiographers in the Department of Health in 2009 and 10.
Thank you. I'd like to take you, please, to page 51316. I repeat, 51316. It's a letter that you referred to.
My lady, my apologies. I exited the mistake. I'll ask counsel to my attendant to help me.
Going to come through now.
I exited by mistake, my lady.
Come now.
I can write that question in the meantime, counsel.
It's the letter dated 24 July 2016. From Dr. Manamela, and my question, and it's addressed to MS Moloto, MS Matabula, Ms. Or Matibi. It says it's from Dr. Manamela, reinvestigation of deaths at Cullinan NGOs. And my question to you is, had you seen this letter before you went to CCRC, as you have testified about?
Okay, my lady, what page is it?
Page 51316.
Okay, I'm there, counsel.
The question is, had you seen this letter before you went to CCRC? Did you see it before that time, before that visit?
No, counsel, I did not see it. And I don't remember the letter. But if I saw it before, I would have been very shocked, and I would have taken action, as it's been characteristics when I get information. I would have been able to do something, or ask Dr. Libete to help me to do something about it.
My next question, Ms. Mahlangu, relates to the issuing of licenses. Whether the licenses were issued to the NGOs by Dr. Manamela or Dr. Silabano, would it have made any difference to you?
No, counsel, because they both authorized in terms of the law to do what they're supposed to do. But at all material times, I always assumed, and I was also entitled to believe that the NGOs, the team, had done all the work related to make sure that NGOs were compliant, including to make sure that NGOs are assisted to submit all their documentation to Treasury so that they do not suffer the systemic failure as it did. That was always my understanding, and I think that that's my view in that regard, my counsel.
So, Ms. Mahlangu, I want to ask you, in your view, who took the decision to terminate the Life Esidimeni contract?
Counsel, as I've said, since the arbitration, and I will repeat this for the purpose of emphasis. The decision was taken by PBC, chaired by the Premier, Makura, and I was present in that meeting, and I'll continue to own up to the decision because I was part of that decision making. MEC Vadi was present, MEC Maile was present, and the senior officials from Treasury and senior officials from the Premier's office, as well as the officials from the Department of Health who accompanied me when I made such presentation. The second point I wish to raise, that at all material times, the Premier was involved. When the CELB service provider raised concerns about...
Can we go back and get the names again of those people that you say were present when the decision was taken?
MEC Maile was a member of the Budget Committee. As I said, he was the chair convener of the Economic Transformation. MEC Vadi was the chair of the governance cluster. I was the chairperson of the social transformation cluster. There were HODs from Treasury and the officials supporting the HOD from Treasury. There were officials from the Premier's office and the officials from the Department of Health, including the HOD who were present with me in that meeting.
You may proceed. I think I interjected.
And then at all material times, my lady, as it is shown by the letter from Nehau, that the Premier Nehau wrote a letter to him asking him to meet to talk about CELB and Life Esidimeni. He was fully aware in all the speeches he made about the Department of Health, how the department was doing, and sometimes commenting about Life Esidimeni. He was fully aware at all material times what was happening in the department. Whatever information that I might not have given him is information that I also did not have. If I had information with confidence, I would have gone to him and said, Premier, things here did not go right. And I stand by that. And I will do so till the very end.
Ms. Mchlangu, I'd like to take you now to pages 34616. I repeat, 34616 to 34618. And request you please to explain to this inquest what those pages depict.
I think there's disruption on my side, my lady. I can't see the stuff. May I just request for help?
Mr. Hodis, you can arrange that with your attorneys.
She's gone through, my lady.
Okay. Oh, okay. I give you a hard copy. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I can see them, my lady. She just gave me hard copies. My lady, when Advocate Hasim was cross-examining me, I mentioned the coaching of families as some of the reasons that made things difficult. When I said I offered people my cell number, my work number to call me, but they didn't call me. And my suspicion was, and because of this, that they were coached by, there's a number reflected here, that there's carte blanche program that's going to happen on that Sunday, and the families are asked to write a WhatsApp message and says, as an example, to say, oh, the message reads as, hi families, I need your help, please. Carte blanche will be airing this Sunday, and I want to open the segment with the voices of actual family members voicing some of their concerns with the whole process of moving patients from Esidimeni to NGO, the state of patients now in the NGOs, etc. I just need short voice notes that you can record on your phone and send to this number 082 835-7650. Example of what you can say is, Gauteng Department of Health never told me where my son was being moved to, and now I can't find him. Or I visited my sister at the NGO. She was so hungry, she didn't have warm clothes, and she didn't have her medication. I'm concerned about her. Or if you are keen to do the recording, but want help, need to explain how to do it, just message me and I'll call you. Thanks to all the families who have helped for the show already. I appreciate it. Tsecho here from SADC, how have you been? Hope you you don't mind me contacting you via WhatsApp. I tried to calling you, but I couldn't reach you. May you kindly send me a short voice note of the current situation, or explain or complaint you would like to lay regarding the life Esidimeni issue. Would like to use it in the insert of carte blanche, which will be airing this Sunday. The messages continue. What I did when I heard about this, I confronted Mr. George Mazarakis, who was running carte blanche at the time. I asked him if he knows anything of this kind, and he said he was not aware. I then asked Mr. Prince Hamna, who was head of communication in that department, then together with Mr. Tebogo Totela, who was in my office, to go and have a meeting with him. Indeed, they had a meeting with him, and he said that he was not aware of the program. And I think it's important for the court to take note of these issues, because I was perturbed when I hear people say we contacted they didn't. I gave them the number, they didn't contact me, but in the end I see this and I said, oh well, I'm not sure exactly what to read into the situation.
Thank you. Ms. Maglangu, finally, is there anything that you would like to add or say to this inquiry from yourself?
My lady.
I'm listening.
I wish to say the following. Firstly, to say that I stand by what I said when I said I was misled. But what I am not certain about is whether I was misled intentionally or was misled with an intention for people to commit negligence. But the fact is I was misled. As I considered with to Council Martin yesterday, that the HOD says he might have not been given the accurate information. And I'm saying that I have been misled. And that is my point, and I continue to say it today, whether it was intentional or not, but this is my submission to the court. The second point I wish to raise, and I'll continue to say, I am profusely sorry for what has happened. The most vulnerable members of the society lost life, and I've been struggling, and I'm not going to lie about it, because I stand to benefit nothing from lying. I've struggled, I'm continuing to struggle. The past 7 days have not been easy. But for my part, again, I'm sorry. And I hope one day I'll be able to find closure, and the families to find closure in whatever way it means.
Ms. Maglangu, did you ever receive any benefit of any nature, be it personal, financial, or any form, from the termination of the Life Esidimeni SLA?
No, Council, I haven't. Nothing of whatever sort.
My lady, that is the testimony of this witness. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. These statistics that you spoke about, you mentioned statistics which you are not allowed to talk about because it was said that, remember that you cannot testify about them because that is opinion evidence. Where did you get them?
From the department officials, when I was compiling the information to the Ombuds investigation process.
Do you know who specifically?
To my lady, I forgot the name, but if my lady permits, I can, once I remember it, my attorney can provide it to the court sometime today, if that's possible.
Okay. Is it your evidence that you made an announcement to the media regarding the termination of the Life Esidimeni contract?
Yes, my lady, we did make an issue press statement. I can't remember exactly when, but
yes. When you did that, what did you say the patients from Life Esidimeni were going? Where were they going in that statement?
Sure, I can't remember, my lady. I'll have to look for those media statements. I can't remember, but they were issued there.
Was this issue that if I understood your evidence from the questions that you were asked by Mr. Mukari regarding the two meetings, that is the meeting of the 13th of November 2014 and the 26th, there is something that I want to clear. From that evidence, is it correct that on the 13th of November 2014, at the meeting, nothing was said about the termination of the Life Esidimeni contract?
That is correct, my lady.
Yes, and now you say that during that meeting, I take it that that is the meeting of the 13th of November. You, as the department, was requested to develop a plan to reduce costs and to ensure that the over expenditure in the department was reduced.
That's correct, madam.
Yeah. So are you saying that immediately you left the meeting, the department had to engage on a process to develop a plan to cut costs?
Yes, my lady. And as I've said, the presentation of the 13 include items for cost containment, but we were told those are not enough. Go back and look for more.
Yes, but I still want to understand as to where did the issue of the termination arise, right? Which led to the decision, as you have testified, that was taken on the 26th.
My lady, the issue, the department, when we went back, the official went to do the work. And as I said, in the documents that I was referring the court to now on the interventions, that the department must look for all the things that were making the department not to get the clean audit report, that were causing the department to overspend, that were also causing the department to incur what the AG calls fruitless and wasteful expenditure. So the officials went back and came back with the list of the things as presented before this court in the cost containment presentation that's revised for the 26th.
This Annexure A that you refer to, is it the slide that you were taken on? Because you are referring in your statement that you made at the arbitration to Annexure A, where you say that that also included when you were discussing the issues, Life Esidimeni then came in there.
Yes, my lady. I think that's a slide that includes the cost containment presentation.
Is it slide number 6 per se, or are you referring to the other slides? Or
no, it's all the slides. In total, I think there were 20 slides. I have to look for my original documents, but in my flash drives. But there was a lot of slides, and I think one of them was talking a point. There was a point about life Esidimeni in that.
okay. As far as you remember, or whether I don't know whether this was brought to your attention, were the families of the mental health care users consulted prior to the process of the transfer to the different NGOs was embarked upon?
My lady, through you, I was told that the families were being consulted. And but they were saying the families are continuously raising issues. That's why I proposed in one of the meetings, I said, then let's go and meet with the family members, myself and the HODs. Yes, I was assured that families were being engaged.
So you yourself, you're also part of that?
Yes, I attended one meeting, my lady, and the HOD attended the other one.
And that's where you specifically told them that the users are going to be transferred to the NGOs?
Yes, my lady. I think that was 2016 January. Yes. Yes, my lady.
Okay. Thank you. I see, just before we break for tea, are there any questions from the questions that I've asked? Mr. Pihlela, I've noted you. Mr. Pinar. Mr. Sibara. Can we take the tea break now and then resume at 12:30?
May it please the court, my lady.
Thank you.
As the court.
you so
And
much.
she explains the statistics quite clearly in the statement, and the statement has been handed in as an exhibit in this inquest.
Okay. It's under section 412, ne?
412, that's correct, my lady.
And the page number?
I'll have to go there.
37803, my lady.
Thank you.
As your ladyship pleases.
Thank you. I see there is also a hand by Mr. Odes.
My lady, the only purpose while my hand is up is your ladyship asked about the slides. One finds that at the record, my lady, at page 1692. Your ladyship asked the witness about the 20 slides. My junior traced it to page 1692 and following for the next 20 pages.
1692, right? Yes, I remember this. Okay.
Thank you, my lady.
Just before I allow, thank you, just lower your hand, please. Just before I allow the others to ask questions, there is this last question that I want to pose to you. I see on page 52340, that is your statement, the statement that you made also at the arbitration. Paragraph 21. This is what you say. I was advised by Dr. Selivano, which advice I accepted and relied on, that prior to the termination of the life Esidimeni contract, he sourced and obtained a legal opinion which advising the department to terminate the life Esidimeni service level agreement. Then you further say you do not have a copy of the opinion, but you have reason to believe that the department has a copy of the opinion. You see that?
Yes, my lady, I am.
So are you therefore saying that it was based on the advice that you got from Dr. Selivano that the issue of the termination of the contract arose? I do not want to go to the issue of the decision because you say that was not taken by yourself.
My lady, may you please repeat your question?
Yes, my question in line with this statement, are you saying that it is because of that advice that you got that ultimately there was this decision to terminate the life Esidimeni contract? Meaning you acted on this advice, you went to present, and therefore the decision was taken.
No, my lady, I think the advice came after the PBC meeting, in my understanding.
After,
I remember.
I don't understand. If you can enlighten me regarding that.
If I'm not mistaken, my lady, the legal opinion, but Dr. Silvano can probably speak to this. I think the legal opinion was only sought after the decision to terminate was taken.
So what was the purpose of this advice? Because already the decision was already taken.
My lady, I think how normally a government worked, and I'm just talking in broad terms.
Just a second, I see there is a hand. Mr. Martin, I've noted you. Yes, just proceed.
No, my lady, I'm saying that when government has a contract with service providers of any kind, so before you take it, before you act on terminating the contract, I think you've got to get legal opinion to say, is this contract, are we able to terminate the contract? And if we are, exactly.
Yes, I hear that. I'm sorry to interject, but my question is, the decision was already taken, isn't it?
Yes, my lady.
What was the reason for the opinion after the, what was it going to do, this opinion? How was it going to assist? Because the decision was already taken according to you.
I can't remember, my lady. Honestly,
Okay.
I can't.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, can I let Can I find out what was that all about before I go to the others?
Milady, I actually just wanted to mention something about the nature of the opinion, but I see your ladyship actually covered it in the very last question.
Okay.
So I don't think it's necessary for me to tell.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pihlelo?
Yes, court, please. Thank you, my lady. My lady, I only have one question, and I just wanted to understand the issue of timeline. The cost-cutting meeting, the PBC meeting, we're speaking of the 14th November 2015 or 16?
2014, the 13th of November. Remember, it was from the 11th to the 13th, and the department presented on the 13th.
And the second meeting where now the decision was taken, it's the 26th November the next year. Okay.
Well, no, the same year, my lady.
The same year. It all happened in 2014, Mr. Pihlelo.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That's fine, my lady, because I wouldn't want to go into a lot of other things. I just wanted the timeline. I'll argue it at the end.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Then, Mr. Pina.
May it please the court, my lady, I do not have a particular question following on your ladyship's questions and the answers received, but just on a point of clarity, and my lady, there was reference made in the initial stages of Ms. Mahlangu's re-examination of documents that were referred to, which your ladyship inquired whether it was in case lines, and my learned friend, Mr. Odez, indicated it was not, but it could be uploaded. My only submission in this regard is, if reliance is going to be placed on those documents, whether then it will be necessary for them to be properly identified as exhibits to form part of the record, my lady. If not, then it won't be necessary, my lady.
Yes, before I forget, thank you, Mr. Pina. Mr. Odez, there were two documents dated. I think she referred to the presentation of the 27th of October 2014 and the 24th of October 2014. Did you get clarity about them?
No, I haven't seen the witness. I need to establish what they are. She's referred to them if she wants. She can put it on the screen and we can see if it's there. It was in response to questions. I had no intention of handing them in. If it's required, I have no objection. She's holding it up. Draft.
I thought you were going to. Isn't it when we adjourned for tea? You said you would want to clarify that with her. You wanted to check them. I think she had them with her. She had the hard copies.
I said I would try to establish whether they form part of case lines already, my lady. But if Mr. Pina and everybody wants them, I have no difficulty with them being uploaded even today, my lady.
Okay. I'm going to close the issue, and then who was the next person? I think Mr. Sibara.
Just one question. It's just identical to the last question of the court. Ms. Mahlangu, were the family members consulted before the contract was terminated?
I wouldn't know the timing, but what I was told, that the families were being engaged.
No. I'm saying before subject to correction, 30 September 2015, when the termination was issued by Dr. Silvana, before that date, were the family members consulted that we are going to terminate, not that we have terminated?
I don't know, Council. I was not dealing with that. I'm only met to the families in 2016.
After the contract was terminated.
Yes, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But I was assured that families were being engaged.
You were assured families were being engaged before termination.
I don't know the period, Council, but during 2015 itself, I don't know exactly which period, which month or date.
I'm sorry, my lady, it's developing a bit based on the answer of the witness, my lady.
Okay, continue.
So, were you told what was the basis of the consultation before termination of the family consultation?
My lady, the officials report in the meeting that the families are being engaged. I didn't ask in what format, and I don't remember the date and time.
No further questions.
So you can't tell whether that was before. You mentioned the year. I think you said, did you say 2015 or 2016? Because
My
you
lady,
yourself, it is clear that you met them in 2016. I've noted you, Ms. Asim. Yes, continue, Ms. Mahlangu.
my lady said, I met them in the families in 2016, but the officials, I don't know which time and period they met them, whether they before the contract was cancelled, they went to them, or only after the October thing. I wouldn't answer that question with authority.
Okay. Ms. Asim.
Thank you, my lady. Just one question following from Mr. Sibara's questions and the families. Ms. Mahlangu, when you met with the families, was it for the purpose of informing the families that the decision has been taken and to get them to adjust to the decision? Or was it for the purpose of a meaningful engagement where they could have input into where their family members would be moved to? Did they have any say?
My lady, when I took a decision that we must engage with families in 2016, my intention then was that I needed to hear from them firsthand what their feelings were, and also allay their fears and where they have concerns, and make sure that those concerns are addressed, and also give them my number to say, if you've got your concerns are not taken into account, please, through the family establishment, which I encourage them to establish a family committee and go with the officials wherever they are going. And if you're not happy, please come back to me. It was to allay their fears and also to hear their concerns.
So they didn't really have a say, isn't that so?
The contract was terminated, Council, already.
Yes. And when you say you were going to allay their fear, you allayed their fears, was this in relation to the movement to the NGOs?
Was in relation to them, the department taking the mental health care users from Life Esidimeni or to any other, to whatever institutions that they were going to be taken to.
Did they raise specific concerns about NGOs?
My lady, I can't remember the specifics of that meeting.
And then finally, Ms. Mahlangu, regardless of when those consultations you say took place with the department and the families, you knew by February 2016 that those consultations didn't have the effect of allaying the fears of the family because they protested at your offices. Isn't that so?
My lady, when the families protested, I received the memorandum and the HOD responded to the memorandum. And through that response, my understanding was that their concerns were further responded to.
Okay, so you accept that by February 2016, their concerns had not been allayed, but then you say that you understand that their concerns were put to rest. How did you understand that?
My lady, when I had the meeting with the families, I recommended that family committees be established. And I further said to them, please call me and go with the officials wherever your family members are taken. I think there's pictures in the records of this court that says that the member.
I'm sorry, because you're repeating the evidence, and I don't want this to be a lengthy process. I'm just asking on what you just answered. You said they protested. You received the memorandum. You asked the HOD, Dr. Salabano, to handle it. And then he informed you that it had been sorted out and that the families were, their concerns were allayed. Is that what you're saying?
The memorandum, my lady, responded to the concerns of the families. And again, as I said, I asked the family members, please call me when you are not satisfied about whatever we are saying. And I don't remember receiving any call to that effect. In fact, I think there was a conversation with Nompilo over an exchange of email. I said to her, why don't we meet rather than having a match? And she was insisting that a matching was a better option rather than us meeting.
Okay. That's all. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I trust that there are no longer questions. With regard to the two documents, I think, can we give you the opportunity, Mr. Odes, just to check if, but you said you don't have any problem if the documents are uploaded.
Yes, Malay.
Whoever wants to use them, yes.
She held it in front of us.
I think, therefore, at this stage, I'm going to excuse the witness. If there are no further questions to the witness.
My lady, I have the name of the official. My attorney will send it to Nelsie.
Again?
I have the name of the officials who shared with me that stats, and I'll.
You can say that on record. That's fine.
I'll give it to my attorney.
No, you can say that on record. There's no need for you. You said, I mean, you can just mention the name while you are still in the witness stand.
Okay, her name is Radisha, I think Suklal.
Radisha
Suklal.
Can you spell that for me?
I think it's SOOKLAA. LAL.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, my lady. It pleases the court.
Thank you so much. You are excused.
Thank you, my lady.
Because the names of the following people have been constantly mentioned in this proceedings, the court has decided to call them to come and testify concerning the issues raised about them. These are the names, Mr. David Makura, Ms. Barbara Creasy, and Professor Robertson. I think the arrangements can be made. Mr. Late, perhaps you can assist in this regard. Luckily with Mr. Makura, I think he is represented. I hope I'm clear.
Mrs. Creasy is at this stage, I think she's part of the national government.
Yes.
I don't know whether the provincial government is going to appear for her too. As far as Professor Robertson is concerned, I would ask the school to ask from Mrs. Hassim whether they will be prepared to appear on her behalf, or his behalf.
Ms. Hassim, if you can respond.
I think what Mr. Late is asking is if we can facilitate having Professor Robertson attend, and we will do so.
Okay, I see. And then what about Miss Chrissy? I think that can be arranged. I don't know if Mr. Late.
My lady, I believe she will have to be subpoena. There will have to be a subpoena issued for Ms. Creasy as well as for Ms. David Nkura. I will arrange for the subpoenas to be issued and given to the investigating officer. If your ladyship can just give me an indication when your ladyship wants to hear the evidence.
Yes, but we have to arrange that, I think, once we, how many days are we still left for this term that we can arrange? Perhaps we should have a case management meeting after this sitting today. Then that will pave the way forward. Can I hear what Mr. Pinar is going to say? I'm sorry to Mr. Late. We'll deal with that at a later stage.
Sorry, my
Yes.
lady, I wanted to suggest, shouldn't we have a management meeting?
Yes.
And not in open court like we're doing at the
Yes.
moment where there's
No, I'm done. That is why I've already mentioned. I just wanted to indicate which are the witnesses that the court would want them to come and testify.
May it please the court, my lady.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's a few minutes before 12 o'clock. Perhaps we can convert the proceedings to a case management meeting and deal with these issues. And then from there, we can then indicate as to when we will be postponing the proceedings, to which date. Nelly Siwe?
Yes, Judge?
Yes, you can just stop the proceedings because I want to convert this into a case management meeting. You can just stop the proceeding, the recording.
Just stop the recording, Judge.
Thank you. Yes. How many days are we still left with? And if we can check.
Lady, the matter's been set down until the 26th of May of this year.
The 26th of May.
Yes, my lady, that's, if I can, it's 2 weeks hence, my lady. From tomorrow, 2 weeks hence.
And the term ends on which date?
On the 15th of, or 16th of, sorry, my lady, of June, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, my lady.
Can have my, just bear with me. Yes, I've noted you, Miss Asim. I just want to get this on my lap. Just bear with me.